All right, this is Potato TV. I'm Peterson, and I'm recording probably two more videos for this channel, and then I'm going to be probably done. I'm not closing it completely and forever. I don't know, but I know I'm going to do two more videos, and that's going to be it. This video, I'm going to discuss the presidential race in America for the 2020 election. The Democratic Party, a large field of the Democratic Party, just finished a large debate. And what I want to do is I want to give some odds, my current odds for who's going to take the presidency in November of 2020. Um, and we're just going to go through everybody first. I'm going to highlight some of the things that happened during the debate. In the description below, I'll put the time where I actually give the odds. So if you just want to skip ahead and get the odds, you can. Hopefully, I remember to do that. I am recording this without stopping. I'm not going to stop and re-record or edit or anything like that. I'm just impromptu. I don't have a lot of time, anyways. So we're going to record mistakes and everything else, and I don't care, and that's okay. All right. First candidate that's running from Miramar, Florida, Mayor Wayne Messam. I didn't even know he was running until about 30 minutes ago when I found this article. Uh, I had no idea. Evidently, he announced on March 27th or March 28th, but he isn't even registering in the polls. He's just unknown. Well, you know what? You're a handsome guy. Good luck. Good luck to you. He wasn't at the debates. Then we have New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. He is one of the most unliked human beings in his own city, in his own state, and in the Democratic field. I find it kind of funny, actually. But he has pretty low name recognition, and he is also the most unpopular candidate, both among the residents of his own city and among the broader Democratic primary electorate. He was kind of an ass during the during the debate. Good luck. We have this guy, Montana Governor Steve Bullock. I didn't find him memorable. He's polling at 0% uh, with what is this called? The Morning Consult. Yeah, he's not doing too good. This guy was interesting. He's very articulate. Former Maryland Representative John Delaney gets a little smarmy during the debate, but he brought up a couple of good points. He's polling at 1% in the console polls. Is not doing too well. We have Massachusetts Representative Seth Moulton. I don't even remember him being in the debates. Maybe he wasn't, but he's polling at 0%. Yeah. Then we have Colorado Senator Michael Bennet. Boring. Sorry, guy. You were absolutely boring. And let's see where you're at. Oh, you're polling at 1%, so maybe some people in Colorado were polling for you. All right. California Representative Eric Swalwell. 38-year-old three-term congressman from California, real young, entered the race on April 8th, but he's polling at 0%. Doesn't have very much in terms of name recognition. He's kind of articulate, I guess, but I think he said something that's kind of like an ultimate sin, and he was touting his youth, and he was telling Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, "Hey guys, you're old. It's time to pass the torch." And he kept saying "pass the torch" several times during the debate. And I'm sorry, you cannot ever, whichever party you're in, Democratic or Republican, you cannot alienate the elderly voters in any way. You do that, they will come out in droves just to vote against you. Okay, it's one of the strongest voting blocks that are in America, and I think he just sunk himself into the abyss. We have former Alaska Senator Mike Gravel. I don't believe he was at the debate. If he was very unmemorable. Good for him, 88 years old. Okay, he's gotten some online buzz. It says, but he's only achieved a 1% in those polls. So yeah, not much of an impact there. Former Governor, Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper. Hickenlooper, you're not going to get the presidency just based on your name. People are not going to get behind that name. However, you're not helping your case because you are boring as heck. All right. He's polling at 1% in those polls, and nothing more. Uh, Nothing more stands out. And then this guy, Ohio Representative Tim Ryan. Um, I remember him in the debate. He tried too hard. To me, he sounded disingenuous. Pulling 1% in the poll, the morning consult poll. He's not making much of an impact. And then this lady, Marianne Williamson, interesting lady. She had one of the longest running campaigns so far. She's that motivational speaker. She, I guess, is mostly known for um, consulting or being a spiritual consultant, whatever that is, to Oprah Winfrey, which is definitely a cultural icon in America. Um, she's somewhat articulate. I just think she's out of her league, but good for her. She was able to raise $1.5 million in the first quarter. She earned 65,000 individual donors, which is a requirement to be able to be invited to the debate, and she was. Okay. She doesn't have any political experience. It showed during the debate. And I just don't see her making that much of an impact, but you never know. Sometimes dark horses really do make an impact, and we have to wait and see on her. But I definitely don't think she's going to get the nomination. New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. To me, she was pretty much a typical politician. Doesn't really stand out. She's fairly recognized, the 40% of likely Democrats, but she hasn't been able to break through 2% in those morning consult surveys. So she is not getting that much traction. Okay. Hawaii Representative Tulsi Gabbard. I was actually really impressed with her. I was very impressed with her. She's down to earth. She didn't seem to pander to any one group or another, and that she was practical, and that yeah, I was actually impressed with her. I don't see that she's going to um, really make an impact, but you never know. If anybody is going to be a dark horse that's going to burst through, it would. I think it's going to be her, and I hope she does. I think she's a very good candidate, an excellent candidate. If something doesn't happen for her for the 2020 election, I really think she should try again in 2024 because she'll get more name recognition. And yeah, I think she's a great candidate. She's just at the 1% in the morning consult poll, which is too bad. Which is too bad. Former San Antonio Mayor and Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Sir Julian Castro. Uh, very, very interesting debate. He was involved with two other candidates during the debate, and they kind of babbled back and forth well, they didn't babble, but they spoke in Spanish. He's, I believe, a native Spanish speaker, but these two other candidates were not, and they were trying to pander to the Hispanic voters who are in the Democratic Party. However, without translating your own words or having the network translate and post what they were saying in Spanish, they pretty much alienated about 90% of their audience. So that was not a smart move. He also said something exceptionally stupid. He was fighting, or he wants to fight for the rights of transgender women to have access for abortions, pro-choice, and the government pay for it. I hate to tell you this, Mr. Castro. A male that is transgender, that is that is transitioning. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. Transitioning, a male that is transitioning into a female can never, ever, nor will they ever be able to have a child. Okay? There is something that a male transitioning to a female, and even when they become a female, they are going to lack, and it's called a uterus. Transgender males to females cannot bear children. Okay, that was not very bright. That is going to stick with this campaign and this candidate, and it is going to sink him. He is not going to go anywhere, and he's only polling at 1% anyways. I don't even know if he's going to even make it to the first primary, which is New Hampshire in February of 2020. I just don't see him making it. If he does, he's not going to go anywhere. Washington Governor Jay Inslee, uh, he had some points uh, made during the debate. It wasn't that memorable. He's trying to be I'm the only this and I'm the only that. Look what I passed in the state of Washington, and then I'm going to make America do it to it. No, you're not. Running a state and running the country are two different things. Um, People aren't buying this experience argument so much anymore. And what are you polling at? He's 1%. He's not going anywhere. Andrew Young, or as they say in America, Yang. He has low name recognition, but he is kind of an outsider. He's like a former CEO of something. Um, he raised 1.7 million in 7 weeks, entirely from small donations. The big issue with this is the network cut off his mic, or there were some mic issues, and they hardly ever let him talk. I think that was done on purpose. If it wasn't, it was just dumb luck. And it's a shame. But it's funny how it happened um, to the one candidate that really is an outsider to the Democratic machine, and that's Michael or Andrew. I don't know. He seems to get a lot of grassroots support, so he might stick around for a little while. And then, of course, we have from my home state, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, typical politician and typical type of answers. Nothing really, nothing really stuck out in my mind with what how she performed at the debate. Um, Very rehearsed. She did when she received a question that she wasn't prepared for, or it kind of threw her for a loop. She did what they typically do, and that is um, change the subject and just deflect. And I find that a little disappointing. Um, but she also has some, yeah, she also has some issues where she has spit at a staffer or mistreated a staffer through a book, whatever it was, at a staffer, and I guess behind the scenes, she is not a very nice person. Kind of sounds like John Cena from the WWE. When the cameras are on, he's the greatest guy in the world, but when those cameras are off, he's whew, he is a completely different person. All right. Beto O'Rourke. Oh, what did he? Oh yeah, he's one that engaged in the Spanish uh, bantering back and forth. Evidently, he didn't speak it very well. He's a former three-time congressman or current three-time congressman. He challenged an incumbent Senator Ted Cruz in the Texas Senate race. He was, yeah, he's got some fundraising. He made some fundraising records along the way, especially in a red state like Texas. He came very close But I said it a long time ago that that is deceiving. It wasn't that people were for Beto O'Rourke; they were against Ted Cruz, and that's why that election was so close. So he is at 4%, and then late March 2%. So he said a few things that were pretty stupid, and yeah, he's a flash in a pan. Um, I was cautious. You know, I thought he might make more of an impact than what he really did. But yeah, he ended up being a flash in the pan. He's not going to go anywhere. Then we have South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg. I don't know how to say his name. It's something like that. He's done some fairly well fundraising, despite having a very low name recognition. Um, yeah, he was all right, but he did. Oh, I can't even remember what he did. It had something to do with race relations, and in his town of South Bend, there was a officer shooting of an a white officer and an unarmed black man, and he openly admitted that. Why did this happen? And he said, I failed. And that's just a killer in an election like this, especially as divided as the Democratic Party and the Republican Party with each other, and a huge division between the two parties uh, throughout the country. Um, let's see. He has moved up. He was at 0% in late February, 1% in March. He's moved up to 7%, so there is some momentum there, but I don't think that he's going to. Um, I don't think he's going to crash the glass ceiling here. Um, all right, then we have New Jersey Senator Cory Booker. He's stagnant at 3 or 4% of the vote. He's the third person that got involved in the Spanish back and forth. Um, yeah, the stagnation here it says it all about his campaign. Then we have California Senator Kamala Harris. She was cutthroat. Oh, she really wanted to go after Joe Biden, and she did. She challenged him on race relations. She challenged him on working with former senators from the southern states in America. They were separatists. They wanted segregation to come back, and he had to negotiate with them. And she's held it against him, and she called him out on it. She's definitely trying to take out the lead dog because she thinks she has a chance to go in and take the nomination, and I think she's right to a point. She wanted to get notice, and I think she did get notice. But a little later, I'll tell you what the problem with that is. Um, where's she at? She is Yeah, she's pulling at 7%. She's got more name recognition, which is actually pretty good. She's a first-term senator out of California, so she put herself in a pretty good position. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, good old Bernie. Uh, he hasn't changed. He has said the same crap this year as he did 4 years ago, as he did 8 years ago. It is anti-Wall Street, anti-big bank, anti-pharma. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, especially when it comes to the pharma. But it's the same talking points. The big difference between this presidential cycle and the last one, where he was kind of screwed out of the nomination through some shenanigans of the Democratic Party with the thing called super delegates. Um, he was pretty much the only one that came out with pretty radical left views. Now we have a field of 24, and 22 of them are from the radical left. So he's got the name recognition, and he's definitely polling fairly well because he's at 37%. Or no, he's not. He's at 19. I don't know where the hell is it. Yeah, he's at 19%, which is pretty strong in this poll. But his message is being diluted by all these other people, and he'll definitely survive because he's got a strong coalition. But we'll see what happens. I think it'll be much more ineffective than it will be effective. And they are touting this Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren as a really strong candidate. However, she is only at 11% in the Morning Consult. Only 11%. Her message is pretty much the same as Bernie's. She comes off as a bit angry. She's definitely hard left, and she made her points. She deflected when she got a question that she didn't like or didn't want to answer or didn't know. Very typical. And then, of course, we got former Vice President and former Senator Joe Biden. He is the leader. He's a leader in the race. He, where was he at? He's at like at 20, yeah, 38%, which is very, very strong in that Morning Consult poll. But he had a couple of gaffes. Not only was he attacked, he didn't defend himself well, and he looked weak. He looked very weak, especially when Kamala Harris was attacking him. He didn't do that well when Swalwell was saying, "Pass the torch, old man, pass the torch." But what he did is they asked him, "What is the first thing you will do if you get the presidency in 2020?" And Biden said, "I am going to beat Donald Trump." That is what he said. Now, Mr. Biden, if you become president, you already beat Donald Trump. And he had a few other gaffes. But, that's Joe Biden. He's had gaffes and stuff for like 45 years. If we had memes 45 years ago, you definitely have a ton of memes on Joe Biden. All right. Overall, there was some Trump bashing, with strong emotions. Some of it lacked any substance at all, but it's typical of the party, the Democratic Party, especially most of them being at the hard left. Again, there's a lot of tugging of emotions, a lot of working up of feelings. Um, whether these issues were based in fact, whether they were based in situational ethics, or even if they were based in some falsehoods, or at the very least, not even backed up by facts. They worked with their, the feelings and emotions instead. There were some good points that were made. Booker, for example, he said that it's a major issue that we criminalize drug addiction, that we criminalize mental illness, and that they criminalize illegal immigration where he feels it is a civil issue. I don't completely disagree with him on the illegal immigration part, and I definitely agree with him on the drug addiction and the mental illness, where it's treated like criminals instead of treating them for what they are, and it's more patient based. Um, there were some good questions asked by the journalists, but the majority were, sadly, they were softball questions. Okay, they were based on imagery or even assumptions rather than factually based questions. Um, I think the biggest disappointment was that they were softball questions, um, more than hard hitting, more than down the middle of the road journalism, and that was kind of sad to see. Well, anyways, finally, we are at the odds. And here's my odds for who's going to take the presidency in 2020. Right now, as it stands, I have Donald Trump at 4-1 odds, and I am not ready to commit yet that this is a runaway for a Trump reelection, but he is the closest. So I gave him 4-1 odds. I give Joe Biden 9-1, but that might actually slip down to 11-1. Okay. Um, that he'll get the nomination and then, of course, win the presidency. I think it's going to be hard for him to beat Trump, and that I think it's going to be hard for him to win the nomination. He needs the traditional liberals to come out and actually vote for him, and a lot of traditional liberals are not because especially younger people they're moving so far to the left they kind of feel a little left out and they don't want to vote for Trump. So who knows? We'll have to see what happens. Right now, I have him again, Joe Biden at 9-1. Uh, it's probably more close to 11-1. I have Bernie Sanders at 20-1. Buttigieg is pretty close. I have him at 25-1, but everybody else is either in the hundreds or even thousands to one. And that's it. That's all I have. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.